Here we get our first good look at one of the mountain's waterfalls. It's flowing through a rock called pillow basalt. Freshly formed basalt is not a good aquifer, but Mount Diablo's basalt has been fractured over thousands of years, so it can store and release water to make this seasonal display. A close-up view will come as we cross the creek up ahead, but when we made this guide in 2019, a fallen juniper made that crossing a difficult place to linger, so we'll give you a quick basalt lesson right here.
It's actually rock that erupted from a volcano, even though Mount Diablo was never a volcano. And the volcanoes it erupted from were about 10,000 feet underneath the ocean, about 3,000 miles to the west, probably as far out as Hawaii, but actually in the southern hemisphere. These volcanoes were at a plate spreading center, where two plates of the Earth's crust are moving away from each other. You can imagine what happens when hot lava hits cold seawater. The outside solidifies right away, the inside of the flow keeps pushing, so it looks like a tube or a pillow. That's why geologists call it pillow basalt. So that rock, beginning 3,000 miles out at sea, 10,000 feet under the surface, took a slow ride in on the old Farallon plate, moving as fast as your fingernails grow. It took about 100 million years to get here. And as that old Farallon plate subducted under North America, those pillow basalts were scraped off and plastered onto the continent. And there they waited. They waited till about 3.5 million years ago, when Mount Diablo began to rise. And here they are today. So they've had a long journey, both in time and in space.
If you're here between early April and early June, consider yourself lucky. You're likely to get to see one of the mountain's tallest and most elegant wildflowers, the scarlet larkspur. This larkspur is native to California and Baja California. At first glance, you only see its sepals. Sepals are the parts of a plant that protect the buds and support flower petals. In most flowers, they're green, but in the scarlet larkspur, they're bright red and showier than the flower itself, which lies inside. Ken likes to say that larkspur is the flower that the town of Larkspur in Marin County is not named after.
Georgiana Wright, who was the wife of the founder of Larkspur, was an amateur botanist from England, but she wasn't a very good botanist. She asked Charles, her husband, at the time of incorporation, whether she could name the new town after her favorite flower, which he thought was a larkspur, but in fact was a lupin. So Larkspur's the town that's named after the lupin.
When you get to the sharp turn in the trail at Wild Oat Canyon and the creek crossing, take a minute to look.
So the scrubby-looking tree we see is called the California juniper. Really a high desert tree, or at least intercoast range.
Junipers grow separate male and female plants. You can tell them apart by looking at the cones. The males have tiny pollen cones. The females have larger seed cones that look like berries when they're ripe.
And the way these trees spread their seeds is by birds. The birds eat the cones and fly off, and then they poop out the seeds. And there's actually a name for that. When you're spread by passing through the digestive tract of an animal, it's called endozochary. Now, any seeds you've picked up hiking this trail from down below and brush off, that's a different way to spread seeds. That's called epizochary. And when birds practice endozochary, passing through their gut, there's actually a special word for that. Birds are special, as any birder will tell you. It's called ornithochory. So the California juniper depends on ornithochory to spread its seeds.
As you traverse the east side of this route, you'll pass more ferns and waterfalls, and you'll get good views of Twin Peaks and Mount Zion. On a clear day, you'll see down to Clayton, Concord, Sassoon Bay, and the northern hills beyond. Stop 12 is an outcrop of a red rock called Chert.